I'm Said. In the last episode, we implemented debugging tool for our hands that in case we need something to debug, we'll be able to do it. And in this lecture, we will use that one somehow to implement the first step of our grabbing stuff. The grab is a basic interaction for us to do some cool stuff with our interactable objects. However, all of our interaction absolutely is not limited to the grabbing things, but I think it's a very good starting point for our interactable implementation. However, absolutely in one lecture we cannot cover everything related to the grab, but we will try to give you some basic fundamentals that I'm planning to use them in this series for the grab and the similar interactable objects. As you remember, in the last episode, we implemented something like these cubes that, we can hover over them to see some details about them. For example, the name of them, but they were not interactable. They just were physical. By activating the simulate physics on them, we can make them physical. But in order to make them interactable, it means we need another specific type of either blueprint or C++ class that do this functionality for us. The functionality that I would like to have is that whenever we hover the hand over the objects, it realizes whether this object is interactable or not. And if the object is interactable, then we try to activate or execute the interaction on that object. But how we can do this? There are several ways to implement such a this in action, but I decided to use interfaces. Also, we can repeat some of the concepts of programming in the Unreal Engine, and I think interfaces is very important aspect in there. In order to create interfaces in Rider, you can go, for example, to the project solution hierarchy, and then you can create a new folder. For example, I called a folder inside public folder interfaces, and by right clicking and pressing add, then you can create a new Unreal class, and here you can select interface. My Rider is early access version, but probably if you watch these videos later, maybe the final version of the Rider with this implementation is already out there. Otherwise, with the previous version, you also have access to the similar interface or UI. When you select the interface, you can define the name of the interface that you want to use, and then the place that you want to put your interface class there, and the other stuff. And it automatically puts the header file into the public and C++ file into the private folder. I already created this one. If we take a look at the header file of the interactable interface that we have, it has two main classes. One of them is uInteractable and the other one is iInteractable. The uInteractable is useful whenever you want to cast the class that you have into the interface class to see whether it's already implemented your class or not, or your interface. And we will see it in action very soon. But the iInteractable class is a place that you will implement all of your functionalities. The benefit of this is we can make sure that all of our inherited class will implement the methods that we need, and we can easily call this method later. The two methods that as an initial step we can have is grab pressed and grab released. These two methods is, I think, initial and necessary methods that we need to implement to make our interactable objects interactable. Yeah. Okay, now we have our interface, but how we can create our objects that use this interface? In order to do that, again, you can create another folder for all of your interactable actors. And then by right-clicking and pressing Add Unreal Class, you can create a simple actor class if you are using the older Rider version, or you can create directly from interface. I assume that you are using older version and you can create an actor class. After you create an actor class, You can easily go to the declaration of the definition of the class, and here you can add another public intractable to it. It's already the interface that we implemented here, as you remember. And you can either go to your come here and press Alt Enter and ask Rider for create these two virtual methods for you, or you can do it yourself. As you can see, they are virtual and we are overriding them. By also creating a declaration for them, you can see we can implement some interaction after we execute these two methods. But we will go into the depths of what we want to do with these two things later. And that's it. We have now our simple pickup actor that we can now think how our hand should realize this one. If you remember, in the hand skeletal actor previously, we had this part that's called on grab sphere begin overlap. I also implemented on grab sphere end overlap for this episode, but we can also discuss about it later. When we are overlapping some object, we should check whether this object is already implemented our intractable class or not. In order to do that, we can get other actor that we are already overlapping with that, and getting the class of that other actor and check whether implemented interface. And here you need to use that U interactable interface that we had before. If you remember, we had one I interactable and the other one is U interactable that is inherited from the U interface class. And here you will get the static class of that U interactable, and if this check is true, then you can do your interaction. For example, I'm updating the text over my hand, the debug text that we implemented in the last episode to show the name of the actor, and then I'm assigning a variable here. I called it ready to grab actor. The other actor that we already overlapped with that into this ready to grab actor, as you can see here. I'm also saving the other components. Maybe one actor has several components and we are only overlapping with one of them, because later maybe I would like to do some interactions with that component. But for now, it's just here as a slot. Okay, that's good, because now we know that we are overlapping with something and we would like to interact with that object. It means now we should implement some kind of the key input. In the Unreal Engine, as you remember, we have now the settings folder, and here we have the inputs. Previously we have move and teleport, and now I implemented grabbing right and grabbing left. For the sake of simplicity for the these episodes and also these lectures mainly, I just go for the grab right, and inside our IMC file you can see now we have the grab right and grab left, and the grab right will be the trigger axis of the Valve Index or Oculus Touch inputs. I also modified a little bit the previously input actions that we implemented to make it more consistent. As we now have this input, if we check our VR character, it was in our blueprints, and we can go here to see it. We can use this enhanced input action that we already implemented as a grab right, and whenever it's triggered we can check for something, and whenever it's finished we can do something else. For example, whenever it's triggered, I would like to update the hand pose that I will show you how did I implement it, and also we would like to check if this value is more than 0.8, it's almost fully pressed, then we would like to do the grab press action. And when it's finished, we would like to do the grab release action and also set the pose to the default value. That's cool. Now we have one action, but where is this right grab pressed event or function that we have? If we go to our VR character base, now we have I implemented two new methods. grab pressed and grab released for both hands, one for the right and the other one for the left. As I mentioned, I will just implement for the right hand for now, but you can also extend it for the left hand. The method needs something in there that is very simple, just calling another method from our right hand. And inside our right hand, we also have this grab pressed method. When we go in our hand skeletal actor and also the header file of it, you can see this grab press needs the U motion controller component. It's not necessarily essential, but you can give a reference to your motion controller in the case that you need it later. And when we are pressing this button, we are checking whether we have any ready to grab actor or not. If there is any ready to grab actor, then we will cast it into intractable. And if this cast is correct, then we can use this variable as interactable, and then we can apply the grab press event on that one. And we can also save this actor as an attached actor for us. Also later, when we are releasing our key, we can check whether if we have any of this attached actor, and if it's true, then we can use this attached actor to do the grab release event. The grab press and grab release event is already implemented in our interface, but also overrides in our simple pickup actor that we previously created. For example, when we are pressing the grab, the simplest way of grabbing something is attaching that object to our current actor. We are casting the hand because we have the inputs from our hand, either it's right or left, and we are casting it as actor. And then we have different attachment transform rules that here I'm just using the keyboard transform. Also on the release event, we have the detach from actor events that will do the trick for us. That's as simple as this. We already do everything that we need in here. Also, I created one inherited class from this simple pickup. I call it simple pickup static mesh, because maybe we'll have different kind of simple pickup later. But here the simple pickup static mesh has some basic features. For example, it has at least one static mesh, and this static mesh is a root component for us, and also it's simulating the physics by default. But whenever we are pressing the grab, the simulation of the physics will be false, and whenever we are releasing the grab key, the set simulate physics will be true again. That's cool. But the other points that we need, it's whenever we are pressing the grab button, we should see also some actions like this, the hand pose. In order to do that, we need to create one hand pose for ourselves. The hand pose, as you remember, we can create by using the control rig system that we already have it for our hands. If you want to have this control rigs, and you can go to the base mesh, and then you have the control rig here, and you can assign it into your scene as using the sequencer to create one animation. For example, here I created one animation sequence for the grabbing of these shallow boxes that we have here, that if you look at it, it's something like this. Using this mesh or this animation pose, then I can go to the animation sequence, animation blueprints that I have, and I can add another blend method between the teleports and in default pose section, that if we have any grabbing pose, then we should blend into this grabbing position. And it will give us lots of freedom. Later we can also modify these parts. Maybe we can create better combination for these blendings, but for now it will work. However, we need this pose alpha grab as well, that I defined it inside the VR hand animation header file, VR hand animation instance header file, and here now we have another variable called pose alpha grab, and then our VR character base has a function called update right hand pose that taking previously only the teleport ratio, but now it's getting also a grab ratio, and it's check whether we would like to update the teleport or update the grab pose. And accordingly inside this method we are checking if the values is very low. For example, we can also check it for 0.01, and if it's less than this value it will set the reset post default, otherwise it will update our post. That's it. We now have everything that we want to implement our grabbing system. Let's see this in action.